Hello, everyone, and welcome to Amazon Live, and welcome to all of our followers and viewers on all of our other platforms. This is USA Global TV and Radio, a special episode as we support authors from around the world. Our episode today is It's All About Their Books. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and I'm very excited to be here with you today. I am an Amazon influencer, which means if you make any purchases today, I will be compensated, although small, but big in many regards. So our focus is on our authors. We have three with us today. The first is a personal friend. He is a mentor, a colleague, and he has been there through many dark times and through many happy times. So I really am excited to have him join us. Mr. Red O'Laughlin, our expert correspondent from Texas. Welcome. Hello.
Howdy, y'all.
Howdy, y'all.
No, howdy, all y'all, if you want to include everyone.
I still can't get it. Howdy, all y'all.
All y'all. Well, it's y'all, but if you want to get everyone involved, it's all y'all.
Well, it's all y'all for everyone watching from around the world, whether it's live or on the replay. Red, thank you so much for being here. You have done so much for so many, including me. And in addition to being a distinguished Toastmaster and, of course, a veteran, and, of course, somebody who is always out there just lifting other people up, you are a publisher, you're a writer, you're a big part of our platform here at USA Global TV and Radio. So I'm very thrilled that you have decided to join me for this episode of Amazon Live. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners, when was it that you picked up the pen or you started typing and said, wow, I'm really interested in writing and sharing what I know?
I think, like most people, it evolves over time. Obviously, in college, you have to write a lot. You start getting out into the real world. My first real world was the military. I got an invitation to Vietnam and spent 4.5 years on active duty and then joined the reserves. But during active duty, I was a writer for the job that I was at in the military, not only procedures, but also evaluating other people. Ended up in the corporate world. And in that particular case, I was doing things that required, how do you do this? And so I ended up writing the procedures, literally dozens and then hundreds, and probably in the big scheme of things over, three decades, probably well over 1,000 procedures. And as things evolved over time, that happened. And as things do, you kind of start out in one direction and then you shift. Well, my first love was chemistry long before I met my wife. And in the process of having that love being cut off with Vietnam, never got a chance to get back into it until many years later. My wife came down with breast cancer. And at that time, I had written a book, but it was in motivation, self-improvement. I was doing back of the room sales, going around the country, speaking. And at that point in time, things shifted a little bit. And I said, well, what can I do to counter some of the effects my wife was having from chemo? And we managed to address most of them pretty well. And then one of them, whoa, can't believe that. Things really worked. And that's when I started shifting out of self improvement motivation into health and wellness. And part of that shift was based on the fact that I had a job at a oil company, and it was the software that we used was called Taproot, and essentially said the 7 whys. Why did that happen? Okay, this thing failed. Why did it fail? Okay, why did that fail? And then you keep going down 7 levels, and you get to what's called a root cause. That root cause was really the thing that you needed to fix to stop something from happening. So we were building a particular tool that you would put down whole, it would fail, and you would, okay, what can we do to prevent that? And then that went into the other side of what I was doing at that particular company was designing it from the very beginning. So you sit down with all the different engineers and scientists and you say, how can this thing fail? And if it fails that way, is that good or bad? And how can you work around it? How can you repair it? Those kinds of things. So you start looking at failures from different perspectives. What caused it to fail and what can you do about it? And can you design something that if it's going to fail, it's going to fail safe rather than destroy a lot of other things? So from that mindset, I started looking at the human body at the cellular level because that's where just disease starts. And so I started writing in that area, and I have over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn that are all dealing with some aspect of health and wellness. I've written over 1,500 articles on my website. The vast majority of those are also on health and wellness. And so that is where I got from writing at the college level, military level, corporate level, to actually writing books, where my first couple of books dealt with motivation, self improvement, and everything since then is looked at. Well, why do you gain weight? Why does cancer get started in the body? Those kinds of things. And so that's where things have evolved to where I've become an author today.
What a fascinating journey you've had, Red. And I know just personally how I've changed my lifestyle based on what I've learned from you. I'm doing intermittent fasting again. I'm super excited. It's this time since Sunday. So every day I really feel is a win. And I use my little salad plate instead of the dinner plates. And I drink a ton of water. But every time you do your Talking Heads episodes, I'm obviously producing, but I am listening intently, thinking, what can I pick up today? So you really are the maestro when it comes to longevity. And I just really appreciate everything that you have put out into the world. Tell us about the books that you have available on Amazon. We do have the link right now for people to go to Amazon. They can see all of your books there today. What would you like to share with us about the books you have on Amazon?
Well, the one book that we're talking about today, probably more so than the other ones, is The Joy of Ageless Health. I my first book that really went into longevity. That's the area that I'm really focusing my attention now. I'm 77 years of age, and obviously I don't have another 77 years, but I have more than a few, and I like to be able to enjoy them where I am not dependent on somebody changing my diaper for the next 5 or 10 years. That to me is not a good quality of life. I'm going to a funeral here literally in about 3 hours, and that particular person had a very poor quality of life for whatever reason. It doesn't matter, but disease comes more frequently, obviously, as we get older. And you look at, why does that happen? Well, in my book Longevity Secrets of Healthy Aging, I talk about the two primary causes of aging. Your DNA has a thing at the very bottom of it's called a telomere that keeps that little thing that the DNA that ravels around itself, it keeps it together, kind of like a caplet on a shoelace. It keeps all of that frayed material from disintegrating. Well, every time the cell replicates and divides in two, a little bit of that cell is left, that telomere erodes a little bit. Well, that's one of the causes of aging. And your lifestyle can cause it to really lose a lot or lose very little. But once that thing gets to the very end, that's it, that cell's gone. Well, another thing is called human growth hormone. When we're little toddlers, we make it like nobody's business. Start slowing down as our teen years. We start getting into our 20s and 30s, and we really slow down. You get in your 50s, 60s, and you're making 10, 20% of what you used to make. Well, those are the primary causes of aging. And when you look at the age related diseases, whether they be dementia or cardiovascular disease or other things, those things are, I'm going to say, controllable to a degree. Maybe you don't get something at 45 or 55 years of age, and maybe it creeps up at you when you're 65 or 75, but there's some level of control. So as I started looking at what can I do to look at disease in general, yeah, I can look at Alzheimer's, and I've written a book on that. That particular book about the causes of Alzheimer's, understanding the causes of Alzheimer's, is a compilation of over 40 articles I wrote during COVID primarily about, well, we think Alzheimer's is caused this particular way. Well, it's also caused this way. So you got the tau protein, you got the beta amyloid protein, and they do things. But in reality, those are just two pathways. My brother-in-law came down with early onset Alzheimer's and really couldn't do his job anymore. Well, one of the pathways that they don't talk about is a thing called phosphatidylserine. We make 4 phospholipids in our body. That happens to be one of them. It passes through the blood-brain barrier and will disrupt our normal thinking. Well, you resupply somebody with a little bit of phosphatidylserine, which can be done in pill form, and all of a sudden, he couldn't even tell you what year it was. Now he can tell you what he had for dinner last night, what he watched on TV, what he had for breakfast this morning, what he plans on watching on TV later tonight. Boom, in 30 days, he was completely out of where he was, and he was relieved from his job because he could no longer do it. But as pathways go, that one we took care of. But other pathways came in and took over and eventually caused him to go back into Alzheimer's. So if I look at, okay, that's at the end of our life. What about right now, today, whether you're 15, 25, 35 years of age, are there things that we can do? And in my Joy of Ageless Health, I'm looking at several things. I use the acronym STRIDE, STRIDE. S, well, that is for stress. All of us have stress. It's not what happens to us, it's what we reach out and grab a hold of and don't let go. That's where the stress affects the body. The event that happened, whether it's a death, whether it's a firing at work, whether it's bills, whether it's your coworker, it doesn't matter. Traffic in the morning, it's not what happens, it's what we hang on to and don't let go. That is where stress really starts affecting the cellular level in the body. The next one, T, toxins. Now, these toxins we get in our foods, in the clothes we wear, in the personal care products we put on our body. Everything that touches our body or we inhale it or eat it probably has some level of toxins. Our body's pretty good at addressing those toxins, but again, at the cellular level in the body, those toxins can have an impact. Eye. I split the eye into 2 different areas. Infection is one, and that is really an after effect. But inflammation is primarily the cause, and that inflammation occurs because you have, at the cellular level, you have a molecule here and a molecule here. This one, for whatever reason, loses a molecule and wants to go over here to this one and grab and stabilize itself. Now this one has a lost molecule. It's wanting to go somewhere and grabs a molecule. And so you have this chain reaction. Well, we have these things called fruits and vegetables, and they provide antioxidants. And an antioxidant will go in there like vitamin C. And it'll go in there, and this one here has lost an electron. It'll go here and grab one from the vitamin C molecule. But vitamin C has enough to take care of itself. It does not become what's called a free radical, where it's now looking to go steal another electron. It can donate electrons and not become one. So that has a stability part to it. So that's the inflammation, which actually affects every molecule in the body. Then you have D, diet. D is these are our choices. If I want to go out and have a hamburger, I go out and have a hamburger. Pizza. I could just as easily, if I want to spend the money, have fish instead. Or maybe I want to cook it at home. So there are lots of things. I choose my food. I choose the method of cooking. All those things have an effect, and the diet is our choices. The last one, E, expectations. I'm sure you've probably heard people say, well, my father, my grandfather passed away when they were 50, 55 years of age of a heart attack. So I'm going to have a heart attack when I'm 55. So you start programming your subconscious mind and boom, you have a heart attack because you've already preconditioned your body to accept it, and that's what you want. And those are things that are controllable. Now, the expectation part, probably not as much, but again, that's a stress-related incident. But that inflammation, if you can control that at the cellular level, you've shut down the pathways for which later on happens. Because the next one is, if I cannot control that cellular inflammation, chronic, low level, it's there all the time, no matter what I do, because I choose to keep it there with stress, with diet, with toxins. And now also we get up to the next level, which is oxidative stress. That oxidative stress is like rust on a pipe that you see outside, a piece of metal. Before it wasn't there. Now all of a sudden it's getting rusty. And then when it really gets rusty, now it starts falling apart. And so when you start looking at those things, now if that rust starts to occur in your kidney or your lung or your brain, your pancreas, now you start having the diseases that are prevalent in those areas. Now we have a lot of things that might cause, say, vascular plaque because of the choices of food you eat. You keep a body that's more acidic than alkaline. Well, now that plaque's going to start building up in your arteries, in your heart valves, and other places. So there's a lot of things we control, and that's what my book, The Joy of Ageless Health, talks about. Each one of those, the stress and the toxins. Oh, the other one I forgot to mention, radiation. That's from any radiation source, but we also have it to a small degree from the phones that we use because we're putting that right up against our ear. That emits a little bit of radiation. Yeah, in a day or two, no big deal. But how about a teenager now for the next 30 years doing nothing but having that thing right there or having the earplug? All those things emit radiation. I'm sitting in front of a computer that I can reach out literally and touch. And if I'm there 8 hours a day at work, I have radiation. If I have radiation from the TV set I have, every time I turn on, I have a light here. Every time I turn on a switch, the electromagnetic force in this room creates a radiation event that electromagnetic force affects our bodies. So, radiation, information, uh, diet, and expectations. Those are the primary things that we have control at, and in our bodies, we can control them at the cellular level.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm just blown away by the amount of knowledge in your head. And it's interesting because every time you do talking heads, you always give these disclaimer that you're not involved with the medical community, you're not a doctor or pharmacist. But I don't know. I think that you have a lot of them beat based on what it is you've experienced in your life. So congratulations, Red. Red, so your book that you're talking about, The Joy of Ageless Health, it's available on Amazon right now. People can go there. Do you happen to have any of your books with you?
I do. I have several of them up there. However, I had a Christmas special, and with everything going on, my Christmas special is still there. All of my ebooks are 99 cents. All of my regular books are 9.99. They're normally double that price. My ebooks are normally 4 or 5 times that, usually $7, $8, $9. So anyway, because of my error, and I'll keep that error for another few days. So my error right now means that if you want any of my ebooks, they're 99 cents. If you want any of my regular books, they're 9.99 because I have not changed that price yet. But today's the 2nd of February. I hope that I can remember here in the next couple of days to get in there and change them back. But typically my books are near $20. If I'm selling them at an event, they're all $20. So if you're looking for a really good buy on a book, 9.99 is a pretty good price.
I think that's a great price. And I'm over here on Amazon looking, and you also have Longevity Secrets. You've got The Joy of, and No Matter What You Can. Tell us a little bit about these others.
Well, we just talked about The Joy of Ageless Health. We talked about the Longevity Secrets. No Matter What You Can Do It is a book that I based on my very first self-improvement book for myself, Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. And this was written in 1960 by a cosmetic surgeon. And he says, okay, our subconscious mind controls everything we do in our life, 95, 98%. Well, there are ways to talk to our subconscious mind, because if I say I want this, or I don't want this, or I need this, well, those are words, verbs that talk to our conscious mind. But in reality, our subconscious mind controls everything. So I expect something, I intend to do something. Those are things that really talk more to the controlling function of our body. And so that particular book addresses the subconscious mind based on psycho-cybernetics.
Amen to that, Red. Thank you very much. I just want to share with you, I'm on Amazon right now, and it looks like they've got your book, The Joy of Ageless Health. It's on sale for $5.55 right now. Do they call and ask? I don't know. And No Matter What You Can is $9.99, and Longevity Secrets is now on sale for $7.69.
Go for it.
Go for it. That's right. You've got an opportunity to purchase these books at a great price. So please go and do it. Red, our time is coming to an end, but before you go, I want to just thank you so much for getting up early and being here with us today. And I want to just have you here as we welcome our next guest, Tracy Cram Perkins. Tracy, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you.
Good to
Hi,
see you
Red.
too. Tracy's joining us from O'Dark 100 out in Washington State. So thanks for getting up early to be here on Amazon Live today, Tracy.
Yay.
Fantastic. So I believe you two know each other, don't you?
Just professionally from being on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. But I do want to get Tracy on my show, The Wise Ones, because there's a lot of stuff that she has that's very valuable for any audience. And I think she'd be a great guest on my show.
I would be very honored to do that, Red.
I love that. I always feel
Well,
like
I,
I'm
I,
proud
I will
mother.
send you the link and we will make it happen.
Thank you. I would love that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again, Red. And by the way, I do have your books, as you know, but they're in New Jersey and I'm in Florida right now. So I don't have them with me, but I highly recommend that you purchase Red's books. Again, go over to Amazon. They're on sale right now. So, Red, have a great rest of your day.
I shall do my best. Take care.
Take care. Bye. Tracy, so good to see you. Thanks for making the time to be here.
Oh, I am so excited to be here this morning. Oh my gosh, it's just so cool.
I am thrilled too, and I'm always amazed. I saw that you were posting something like 2 hours ago. I'm like, is she getting any sleep? But you know what to do because not only do you take care of yourself, but you've taken care of a number of people. I have your book right here. This is truly the Bible, Dementia Home Care. It's the Bible for anyone who is taking care of someone who has dementia. As you know, my mother had dementia and she passed away from cancer unrelated, but this book was a godsend for me as well as my sister, and you were really there for me as well, so thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're very welcome.
So Tracy, tell us a little bit. I mean, you have a career that is outside of you taking care of people and outside of you being an author. This book, Dementia Home Care, available on Amazon right now, has really taken off. You've had so many sales. I interview authors all the time. I'm an author myself. When you told me how many sales you've had of your book, I was just blown away. So tell us, what was the motivation for you to write this book?
Well, I am a four-time dementia caregiving survivor, and I took care of my mom, dad, uncle, and aunt. Everybody was completely different. There was no two things were alike. And I was very frustrated when I was coming up against anything that was not something I understood, and I couldn't find answers right away. And to back this up, my dad, when he first came to live with us, was had moderate Alzheimer's disease, and so while he was living with us, I had to learn the hard way about reality orientation not working, that he could no longer be where I am, that I had to go into his shoes and walk him through to a place of safety. I didn't understand that he was shadowing me every single place I went and everywhere I went and mimicking everything I did because he didn't know what he was supposed to do, but he knew if he followed what I did, then he would be okay. The only problem is that when you have somebody mimicking you constantly, start to go insane. And I just needed to figure out what these behaviors were. And at the time that I was taking care of him, there were wonderful resources out there. I just didn't know what they were or where they were. And it was taking time to research it and find the answers, but I couldn't find all the answers in one place, nor did every book cover the entire spectrum that I needed. So after a while, I just started collecting them because what would happen is like my dad would melt down over something, let's say at lunchtime, and he would start throwing silverware at me because he was so frustrated with me. And I didn't understand the root cause at that point was me. Uh, What was happening is I was trying to bring him back to where I was, where reality is in my world. And he wasn't having it because his brain was telling him that he was right. And his brain was right because he was developing holes in his brain and his brain was shrinking and he couldn't come back to the place where I was. So I had to find a way to bring him back. And it was really, really difficult. It took me 18 months to retrain myself not to try and orient him to reality. And I'm grateful for that time, but I also wish I could have learned it faster and had more time, quality time with my dad.
Oh, I'm trying not to tear up over here.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing story that you have and that you wrote this book as, uh, not only just a tool, but I would think it's a clearing, a cleansing also because you're creating a legacy of helping other people. And as I mentioned, you really have helped me, helped my sister, and so many other people because the book, the way you've written it, it's first of all, and I told you this when it was shipped, and this is my second copy of this book, the shipping, the way it came, the packaging was outstanding. I was like, you know what? I have to do this. I have to start doing what Tracy's doing. And the pages, the way the text is and the way it's formatted, it's so easy to understand and see. And then of course you have what's covered in the chapter here in each chapter. So it's something that is a fabulous tool for everyone and anyone.
Thank you. It,
Thank you.
it's to me, it was because it's so stressful. One of the books I love is The 36-Hour Day. But if you're tired, exhausted, you've had maybe a crying jag because you've just hit the limit, you've hit that wall. Um, I was too tired to read the book. I could only read that book when I was, at least sort of rested, and so my brain was just overly tired because there were days when my dad would be out of sorts, and and anytime he would go out on an outing with a family member, he would come back, and every 30 minutes after we'd gone to bed, he'd be at my door, calling my name, needing help, and this would repeat all night long. And it wasn't until I figured out how to, make him back at a place of safety sooner, and having my family members and friends who would take him out understand what behaviors they did that caused this behavior, it was definitely challenging. So I wanted to make sure that I had something there that people could read and understand and, take a moment and breathe because it's so hard and it's so difficult to understand. And unless you understand what's driving the behaviors, then you're not going to understand how to work with it and make your life easier.
So well said, Tracy. And something I want to, ooh, something, where did you go, Tracy? Tracy, are you there?
Hear me?
Yeah, you disappeared
Hi.
for a second. Okay, hi. Yeah, so something I just want to add is to what you just said. Unless you've done it yourself and your loved one is saying, please help me, you have no idea the power of those words. And we need tools because what happens is, at least for me, I became highly emotional and really reactionary instead of focusing on, wait, how can I bring value? What is it that I can do? And the answers are in this book. Of course, the answers are in your head with your experience, but you can't be there for every single person. I know you'd love to be. That's why this book is so important. So, something I'd like you to share a little bit about, Tracy, is that when someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia, when is the appropriate time for the caregivers, the family? You might not even know you're going to be a caregiver. When should you pick up a copy of this book? Is it before something happens, during, after, and go, oh my gosh, I should have done this and this? What are your thoughts?
Well, wherever you are in your journey, I mean, if you are suspecting something, then I would recommend picking up the book because it might not be dementia. And if you just put it off that it's old age or it's something else, what can happen is you might not recognize that they just had a new drug that they're now starting to take for some minor issue, and it's interacting with everything else on their medication list, and it's giving them dementia. And if you don't take that list to your pharmacist to find out what kind of interactions there are that you can take to the doctor, you can make that dementia permanent. So it's just knowing ahead of time the signs to look for and ways to dial it back. I can't help you if you don't have the information in front of you, but with a toolbox that we can help with everybody, you can literally sit down and flip to that page. There is an 8-page table of contents on this thing because, you need to scan your fingers down to find the challenge of the day and then turn to that page. That way you are not wasting time trying to find the answers you're looking for.
Because there is no time. It's going on in real time, and you have to come up with a solution. So, I'd love for you to walk us through some of the chapters that are in there because you've covered everything. I mean, every time I talk to him, like, what? How did she come up with this? Because there are things that dementia patients, Alzheimer's patients, they're experiencing that we're not aware of as lay people. And we get annoyed. Like, there's nothing there. Who are you talking to? Why are you afraid of that? Why are you hiding in the closet? No, there's so many things that we start judging instead that this is reality for the patient. Tell us more.
Okay, so a lot of things that are happening. First of all, you have to understand that dementia, the dementias are a brain disease. And as the disease progresses, the brain is deteriorating. So it could be shrinking, it could be developing holes, it could be building up white matter in some part of the brain. And think about how you learn. When we're in kindergarten or about the age of 5, we're starting to learn how to tie our shoelaces. By the time we're in second grade, we can tie more complex knots. And as we get older and what we're learning, we use what we've learned in the past to learn and figure out the stuff going on in the present. Well, that's going to be gone. If there's a hole there, there's no way your brain can grasp that. And so it's going to go look for something else. Well, that something else could be a hallucination or a delusion because their brain is not interpreting what they're seeing properly. It could be because of glare, low light, checkered patterns. It could be because they're seeing too much black in an area and they think there's a massive hole. It could be shadows. It could be the noise that we don't even hear, like the refrigerator motor coming on, or maybe the furnace vent just activating. There's so many different things in our environment that we don't necessarily recognize. It took a while for me to figure these things out. This was not easy. It took a long, long time, and I failed a lot. And I don't want you to have to go through all the failure because it takes a long time to recognize what somebody is going through. And just knowing ahead of time that, okay, I need to look around the environment. In the book, I put what I call the meltdown trigger list. I've also got it available on my website, and it gives you step by step instructions that you can look around what's going on every time this weird behavior happens, and that you can figure out what's causing the behavior, what's triggering it. Is it the temperature? Is it the weather outside? Is it kids playing? Is it the dogs barking? Is it the cats running around the house? Whatever it is, could be the noise, it could be sight, sound, it can even be smell. So sometimes they'll tell you, "Oh, I can smell my grandmother's pie." Well, of course, there's nothing baking in the house, but they can smell it. So something in their brain tripped that. And the best way to deal with this is either to redirect them, or if it's not harmful, have them tell you about it. But if it's something that scares them, like they feel like a person is in the room, are there mirrors in the room? Are they seeing their own reflection? If there's a mirror in the room, then you want to remove that mirror or cover it somehow so that they aren't seeing that and becoming disturbed. It could be something, and this happened a lot in my household. My dad saw something on television and then it added to his delusion. And so it's trying to figure out what are the things that are the triggers. And with the meltdown trigger list, you can write the things at the bottom that worked. That way, when you have somebody that comes over to care or take your family member out, you can arm them with a list of how to de-escalate the situation and how to bring them back to a place of calm and safety.
Such reassuring words, Tracy. Thank you so much. A question I have for you, because you and I discussed this. In fact, I remember I called you and I was like really just about to lose it. Is that as caregivers ourselves, we don't feel that we should take care of ourselves because we have to take care of our loved one, and there really doesn't seem to be any time to do self care. But what happens when we don't do the self care?
Well, you can pass before your loved one dies. So self-care is not selfishness. Everyone needs downtime, even your loved one. If you can figure out some way to get 5 minutes just to do a breathing exercise or have time to call a friend, if you can give them a something to do, like say sorting and rolling coins, so that they have an activity that keeps them going and you can do something else. Maybe you can sit down and read a book. Maybe you can go take a few minutes to do that whatever chore you needed to do, or something for yourself that gives you the downtime. Finding an activity to keep them going because they're lost at sea. They don't know where they are or how to get back, and they rely on us to be their place of safety. And so because we feel guilty a lot of times, we want to be there for them every moment of the day, or we tell ourselves that lie that I can do it all, and you can't. You've got to make sure you bake in some time. I would recommend, if you can do it, having friends or family members or people from your church or other organizations that you belong to. Once people understand what's going on, it's less frightening and they can help give you some downtime. And the more people you have in your community or network that can help you, the better the outcome is for everyone, because then your loved one gets socialized, you get downtime, and everyone is just a little bit happier and it's just a little bit easier. But it's just knowing what to do that makes the difference.
Excellent points. Thank you, Tracy. And I know you cover a lot of this in the book. Something else I want to bring up and have you talk about, because I think it's a nice segue from what you just said. We had suggested to my mom that she do paint by numbers, and she was just, I'm not doing paint by numbers. And that was such a saving grace, because all over this house, there are her paint by numbers that it's kind of a great memory. But something that came up during this whole process was she would start the paint by number and she couldn't stop. She might be there for 6, 7, 8 hours. And I had a hard time understanding, because she wasn't talking to me. She was just doing this. And I realized, oh, I'm making it about me. So when they're doing something like a paint by numbers or rolling coins, what's going on in their brain for people who are watching and thinking, okay, this sounds like something I'll have for my loved one to do? What's going on so that we know that they're safe and that we can encourage them to do this for a number of hours?
Well, with art, just like with rolling coins, you are engaging their brain. They're actually present in that moment. And you really want to encourage that because it slows down the progression of the disease. So, anything you can do to tap into that creative juice gives them a place that they can be themselves. They can be fully present in the moment. Because part of what happens with dementia is people withdraw, they become silent, they can't focus. There's a woman named Loretta Vaney who is called the Lego Lady, and she does Lego therapy for people with dementia. And it is an incredible tool to get somebody to engage and interact. She discovered this while taking care of her own mother, and what she was able to do is she was able to keep her mother engaged and talking until 2 days before she passed. So anything you can do to keep their brain stimulated, to engage them, whether it's doing a paint by numbers, perhaps it's going to a memory cafe, doing some creative artwork, perhaps it's coloring in a large print coloring book. There's a lot of activities that are available nowadays that didn't used to exist even 5 years ago. So anything you can find that they enjoy and encourage them to do it, and don't correct them. It's their artwork. There's nothing wrong with whatever it is that they're doing. Even if it's just setting the table and they spread forks everywhere, it doesn't matter. Nobody gets hurt because they didn't put the fork on the napkin or in the right spot. So it's whatever gives them the ability to create, be involved, and feel worthwhile, because we all have self-worth.
Oh, I got chills when you said that, because that's such an important takeaway, and I had forgotten that during the process until I reached out to you. And by the way we connected was truly amazing. Someone bringing us together. So the power of connection, you never know where it's going to go. Your book's available right now on Amazon, and there's been a number of clicks on it from people who are watching, and it's available for $15.29 right now on Amazon. What would you say to people who are thinking about buying it but haven't purchased it yet?
Well, for me, I wanted a toolbox. It tells you, kind of like walking into the hardware store, and I do feature hardware stores a bit in the book. It's having the right tools in front of you when you need them, and you don't always know what tool you're going to need, which is why I highly recommend that you consider that. I mean, just take a look at the table of contents when you're on Amazon and just figure out, okay, did I even think of that? How is it I'm going to distract my loved one? Why are they doing what they're doing? Why won't they take a shower or a bath? Bathing is a really huge issue with somebody with dementia, and it's understanding their triggers. A lot of folks with dementia don't want to get water on their face, so sometimes taking a shower isn't appropriate unless you have a handheld shower. Or perhaps they are afraid because you have in your tub shower area something that looks like a hole because it's black or dark brown or navy blue. Would you know to cover that up so that they can not feel afraid of falling into a hole in the bathtub? What about if your bathroom is monochromatic and they cannot see where the toilet is because everything's about the same color or the same shade. And they start going to the bathroom in the ficus that's next to the bathroom door because it's bright green. It's the only color they can see. They know they're in the right area and that's what they're supposed to be doing. So it's making sure that you can see it from your loved one's perspective to prevent these things from happening so you aren't pulling your hair out going, why are you doing this to me? I keep telling you, why don't you listen? Because they can't. The other thing to realize and understand is hearing and sound as the brain's diseases progress. It's like having tinnitus on steroids. So sometimes they're processing so much slower because it takes longer for them to hear the words. You could be saying something in the present moment and they could be answering a question you asked them 5 or 10 minutes ago. And it's learning how your loved one processes something to understand and then be in that place with them when they're answering that question. Because sometimes you're going, why are you telling me about this? And it was in answering the question you asked 5 or 10 minutes ago.
I can remember saying, "Why won't you listen to me? What are you doing? Why won't you take a shower?" And until I spoke to you, I just didn't understand. So I know there are other people out there who are going through the same thing. So we actually have Red, who is back in the house with us. Our third author isn't here today, so I'm going to bring him back, and I think it would be nice for the two of you to have a chat. But Tracy, you also have a show here on USA Global TV and radio, and obviously our focus today is your book, but you do bring on experts who can assist people who are going through something. Tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll bring Red back.
Oh, I love the Dementia Home Care Show, named after my book, because we do get to bring in people with other perspectives and other life experiences that can share stuff that you might not have thought of, or maybe I don't even know about. I know this coming to the 20th, I have Deb Hollisey. She is the advocate for mom and dad. She has one of the best caregiving blogs on the web for dementia care. Uh, Anybody I can get on there that might have a different viewpoint. We've had PK Bevel. She is the inventor of the virtual dementia tour, which teaches caregivers what it actually feels like to have dementia. It gives you a sense of empathy you would not even have understood until you walked in someone else's shoes. I also had B. Rhodes on, who introduced me to the virtual dementia tour and explained how it changed the way she cared for her mother and impacted the course of the rest of her life. There are so many different people that we've had on the show. I would strongly urge you to look at some of the back episodes just to see what's going on. We had Lori LeBay from Alzheimer's Speaks. She cared for her mother for 30 years. She is probably the strongest advocate, an independent voice for dementia care. Go to her website, alzheimersspeaks.com. She has a boatload of information on that website that you can't find anywhere else.
Fantastic. And Tracy, something I just want to mention is it's all about collaboration. It's all about supporting one another. That's what we're about. That's what you're about. And so I highly recommend this Bible of information, the toolbox, Dementia Home Care, how to prepare before, during, and after, available right now on Amazon, $15.29. So thanks for being here. And speaking about collaborations, we do have Red backstage. I'm going to bring him out. If you're watching on the screen, please take your device. You can hold it up and you can actually order a copy of Tracy's book. You can also order a copy of Red's books as well. So let's bring Red back onto the program. Red, are you with us? There you are. Let me move this down so it's not across your face. Hello, Red. Good to have you back with us today. I can't hear you. Can you hear him?
I can't hear you, Red.
Tracy, I was one of those people taking care of my wife with breast cancer, just as if you're taking care of somebody with any kind of disease. And I did not take care of myself. And I came down with a health issue that pulled me away from her for about a week and a half. And so it's, as you said earlier, it's so critical that the person taking care of somebody really has to take more care of themselves in order to be available. You know, just like that, the oxygen mask comes down, put it on first, because what you said there is so critical with regard to taking care of people. You are their only true link to success on a daily basis, and if you're not there, that impacts them significantly.
I have an example of that. I had a reader reach out to me last year. She had purchased the book. She ended up having a pulmonary embolism and was hospitalized for 10 days while her husband with Alzheimer's disease was at home alone. Now, I have a chapter in the book on emergency preparedness, and it covers just that fact. In case you have a medical emergency, or what happens if you die first, how to make sure you've taken care of the person you're taking care of. And Red, you're right, taking care of your own health is so incredibly important. And I know that it has driven what you are doing now with the books that you write.
Yeah. Well, I came down with shingles, so that was something fairly easy to deal with for me because I took the 10 days of pills or whatever it was, and things worked out well because I caught it very, very early. But when I got, it was fortunate because I called the doctor and I was able to get in the next day. And then I walk in there and he's looking, it looks like a classic case of shingles to me. And I started thinking, oh, one, two, almost everything that causes it, yeah, I had done. And again, it's because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing in my own health and wellness program because I was so focused on someone else. That can all wait. And that's a big deal because we get so tunnel vision, we don't see everything else around us. So that one, for anybody listening, that is such a huge thing. You may not be prepared to do it, but by default you are doing it, and over time it's there every day. And then all of a sudden you find out that most of your focus is over here. It's not on you where it should be to begin with, because as your book says, here's everything I need to know. You've talked. I lost internet for a short while. I don't know if you talked about the red plates and the blue plates and those things where I wish I had known that. And so
Mhm.
you have a wealth of information there that I think is super great to share. And it just sometimes just a little bit of awareness makes your day go so much easier.
Oh, so true. And thank you for bringing up about the red plates and blue plates because I did not talk about that. Color is such an important factor in care, especially with someone with dementia. Um, as we age, and I can speak from experience here now, our eyes start to yellow a little bit. Our lenses start to thicken in our eyes, and with dementia, a chromatopsia follows. And what a chromatopsia is, and this is a word I didn't even know until a few years ago, well, about 10 years ago now, but what a chromatopsia means is that you can only see black, white, and the contrast of very bright colors. And I learned recently it's because our eyes have what are called cones in there to detect colors. They are red, blue, and green. And the smallest amount of cones in our eyes are blue, and they're the first ones to go, so that blue starts looking like brown when you see it. So I didn't understand what colors were doing, but I did discover that if I put, and I discovered this by accident with my mother-in-law, who also had Alzheimer's disease, that when we were having Thanksgiving dinner, my sister-in-law had these beautiful red plates, and we were having hors d'oeuvres on the red plates, and there were just a few hors d'oeuvres on the plate, and she was eating them and happy, and we were all talking. We go into the dinner table again, beautiful red plates, and my brother-in-law serves my mother-in-law, excuse me, and he puts on turkey and mashed potatoes, stuffing, covers it all in gravy. It's piled in a mound on her plate. We're all eating, and she's sitting there and she's just weeping a little bit. And one of my in-laws says, "How come you're not eating, Jenny? You've got this food on your plate. It's wonderful. It's delicious." She couldn't see it. There was no contrast. She just literally couldn't see it. And it wasn't until my husband and I were driving home that I suddenly dawned on me, oh, she couldn't see it. But it took that aha moment after I thought about it for a little while to say, okay, this is why this is happening. And it actually helped me with my own father because then I knew to serve him in smaller portions and later on in courses because he needed that contrast.
It's interesting you mentioned about eating and Alzheimer's. There was an experiment done, I'm going to say before COVID, and it was an Alzheimer's ward of a fairly large area, and this was a planned experiment. And they set everybody down for Thanksgiving dinner, and they had basically all they could eat. And then they took them all and said, okay, we're going to go down here and see a movie. Of course, everybody's going down. Well, they take them into another area where an entire Thanksgiving dinner is prepared and sitting on the table, and they sit down as if they've never eaten before in their life, and they just go crazy eating literally 10 minutes after they had finished eating a major Thanksgiving dinner. It's even though our brains, I'm full, it doesn't register. It's just so many things there. I wrote an article recently on uh, Parkinson's because it has a similar pathway, but
Mhm.
it's a different protein involved, alpha synuclein. And in the process of doing that, I found out that vitamin B12, which is also one of those pathways for Alzheimer's, if that's why gerontologists will give you a B12 shot. Well, if that works, that's great. But B12 is one of those few chemicals that will destroy that particular protein that is involved with Parkinson's. And I said, well, that's kind of interesting, but why aren't they doing anything about it? Well, it's in PubMed, it's in other places. They should, but for whatever reason, it's not. And so there's so much information out there, and you're providing it from a user's perspective, which is typically different than most of us. I want to go and find what can I do from this perspective, the chemical end of things on the treatment. You're from the more personal end of things because the responsibility is different. And I think that is just so great.
Well, thank you. I it was very difficult for me to find I'm getting feedback, I'm sorry. There's very difficult for me to find, anything that was from the caregiver's perspective that walked me through and explained to me why these things were happening, and as you know from doing your own research, it takes a long time to figure these things out because it's not always the obvious answer, and that's a big deal.
But you know something, sometimes it's there. Like I say, what's the cause of Alzheimer's? Okay, we'll tell you the tau protein and the beta amyloid. But in reality, if you say, well, tell me about uric acid and Alzheimer's, tell me about berberine and Alzheimer's, tell me, if I know what to ask, I can ask the question and get an answer with a lot of good references. But the general search will not tell me that. I have to actually go in and do my own search. Okay, tell me about turmeric and its treatment of Alzheimer's. Now I can get an answer that they would never tell me before. So it's interesting. If you phrase the question the right way, you'll get an answer. But if you ask a generic question, you get a standard answer and you just can't find out. So as a caregiver for my wife, I've started going onto it's not a blog, it's the groups that are in that particular area. And so I'm looking at people using this particular drug or people using this. It's a user group, it's a family group. And oh my goodness, something simple as that will work, but it's not available at the doctor's office or the nurse may be telling me, you might want to try this. But there's so much information out there, and yeah, maybe testimonial. They may not have had a test on it, but you can't do test on food because that's not allowed in the FDA. But there's a wealth of knowledge, but you have to figure out what's the best question to ask. Ask the same question 20 different ways, and you might be able to get something that can help you.
Wow, I'm really enjoying this conversation. Thank you so much. I feel like there's definitely a collaboration in the future between the two of you. So I hope that you do connect. You know how much I love that. So we're at the end of our show. And again, we want people to go over to Amazon and purchase your books. And obviously, for those watching on Amazon, they can see the books right there and they can go ahead and read more information about it. But go ahead and click because they're all on sale. I just want to review again. Dementia Home Care is on sale today for $15.29. That's TRACY's book. And I'm going to put up this QR code. You can just take your device and scan it, and it'll give you more information. Red's book, Secrets, Longevity Secrets, is on sale for $7.69. Red, let me put up your information. And The Joy of Ageless Health is on sale for $5.55. And No Matter What is on sale for, no, it's not on sale, it's $9.99, which is a great price anyway. So thanks for joining us. I'm going to ask each of you to just reach out to the audience, whatever it is you want to share. We'll start with TRACY.
Well, first of all, thank you everyone for joining us. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. And so it's knowledge is the most important tool in your toolbox when you're taking care of somebody with dementia. You have value, your loved one has value. Just remember that while you're on the journey and give yourself a break. We spend so much time beating ourselves up that we think we should be perfect and do it all. You can't. So just choose to love yourself and allow yourself self care because you will be a better caregiver beyond a doubt.
Fantastic. By the way, TRACY, Wave Video really likes you.
Oh,
Thank you so much. Red, we're going to give you an opportunity to share as well.
Thank you so very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. With anything you try to do, change in your life, start incrementally. Just a very, very small thing. If it's changing part of your diet, whatever it is, there's something you can do. I don't have to go up and down the stairs 15 times just to have some exercise. Maybe today I just do it twice. But there are things you can do, but to make a change in your life, it takes a little bit of time. But it also takes awareness, it takes a little bit of education. But when you start saying, I'm going to do this, that's fine. But incrementally, you'll start seeing some progression, and now you have some success behind it, and the brain starts to cooperate with you. Because if you start having a lot of failures, the brain's not going to let you do it. For no matter how good it is for you, it's like losing weight. If you failed in the past to do it, your brain is going to do everything it can to sabotage you. So begin the change. Tell yourself a different way. Now, I'm going to lose inches, not weight. And then look at what you're doing incrementally and add just a little bit more each week. And I think you'll see some level of success down the road.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Red. Thank you so much, Tracy. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure to have the two of you here with us on Amazon Live. And people can watch your shows here on USA Global TV and radio, and they can reach out to you on your websites as well. So enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thank you. Bye. Thank you, everyone, for watching, whether you're watching on our platforms here at USA Global TV and radio, as well as Amazon Live. I personally really appreciate each and every one of you. I know that you took time out of your day to be here. Please do support our authors, Tracy and Red. They have really put their heart and soul into their work, and you can just go over to Amazon and place your order for your copy. Again, I am an Amazon influencer. That's not why I'm here. I'm here really to promote other people's work, but I'm required to say that I will get a commission for each sale that is made. Well, we're going to sign off today, and our apologies, Catherine Grant is not with us, joining us today, so we'll have her on a future episode, hopefully. And until next time, remember, it really is important to read, to educate ourselves, because we don't know what we don't know. Like Tracy just said, you have an opportunity to grow personally and professionally, and also to collaborate. We see that Tracy and Red have a lot of things in common, and I just am so excited to see where that can go. But if you don't get out there, if you don't put yourself out there, you know where you're going to end up, in the same place that you already are. So go ahead, collaborate, reach out to Tracy, reach out to Red. They're also on LinkedIn. But for today, we're talking about Amazon Live. So go purchase a copy of their books there. Thanks so much for being here. Bye for now.